good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time that you were tuning in to see It's Naturally That. Well, I'll tell you what, it's been kind of a wacky week. We had the time change. I didn't sleep very well. I'm sure you can relate to that. And so if I'm a little spacey today, that's why. It hit me a couple days later, which it always hits me. But this time it hit me a couple days later, a boomerang rubber band effect, I guess, with the time change, but who cares? The bottom line is, oh, excuse you. The bottom line, the girls say hi, is it's pretty windy out. The weather's crazy. We had snow yesterday. Yesterday, it snowed all morning. It's completely melted right now. You could have a picnic outside. It's probably 65 degrees. Nuts, right? And then it's supposed to be cold again on the weekend. So today, on my day off, I thought, you know what? Let's make something and just completely freestyle it. And that thing is chili. And I want to talk about chili today because chili is as different, if not, well, no, it's the same as meatloaf in that they're also totally different, all the different meatloafs and chilies there are out there, okay? I use, and I've made so many chilies over the years, I couldn't even tell you. I've made white chili in the crock pot, white chili in the Dutch oven. I've made green chili with tomatillos. I've made pork maverick chili with pork chunks. I've made venison chili. I've made regular ground beef chili, and I've made mixtures. And that's what I'm going to do today is a mixture of chili. Because the wonderful thing about chili, as a great American thing, and a lot of states and a lot of cities have great chili cook-offs. Where I work has a chili cook-off every fall. I think it's every fall, but anyway, maybe it's a spring. Is that chili allows you to utilize what you have in your refrigerator, freezer, and pantry, right? To utilize things that you know you got, say, some hamburger, and you've had it in the freezer 6 months, and you forgot about it, and you bought some new hamburger, and you're like, oh, I got to use the old hamburger. The same would apply to chorizo or ground chicken or ground turkey. I forgot to mention ground turkey. I made ground turkey chili. And you can rotate your stock, right? And that's what I'm doing today. I've got some unusual stock. Now the crazy thing is when I decided to do this video, I would have sworn I had one of those 28 ounces cans of either stewed tomatoes, crushed tomatoes, or diced tomatoes, and I don't have any of them. And I'm not going to the store, and neither should you if you're missing one thing. You can, with chili, substitute anything when it comes to proteins. There's only a few rules, right? And the rules are, got to have some sort of peppers in there. We're not even going to get into the bean debate. But if you want beans, and I'm going to do mine with beans today, although most of the time I do mine without. You can do any kind of variety of beans, and you must have a tomato base, and you must have the right kind of chili powders and etc. Other than that, it's a free range, right? In one of my shorts, I talked about making chili at the lake, and I wanted to do that for you guys so bad today. But I realized I'd have to drag so much stuff with me, I'd have to hire a crew of people to do it. And you know it's just me doing these most of the time anyway, occasionally with Daniel's help. So I can't do that. We'll have to make it in the kitchen today, but I'm going to do that for you someday, I promise. So let's show you, I'm going to show you the weird meltdown of stuff we got today. So what I got here, you know, the ubiquitous bag of organic colored peppers. This is my third video where I say you got to have colored peppers in your refrigerator because look how much new things I've made this winter for you guys with that. I got that. I got good old-fashioned onion. And this strange concoction is hatch chilies, okay? I'm so lucky that even though I live in a food desert, I have a great greenhouse, a huge greenhouse in town that has a pepper festival every fall, and they go down to New Mexico, bring back all kinds of great chilies, like, what was that one I got? Machete, probably mispronouncing it, hatch, whatever, and then they roast them, and you go there and buy them. And that's what this is from last June that I kept hoarding for a chili recipe, okay, which is today. The seasonings I think you gotta have, I don't care what variety of seasonings, but you gotta have chipotle, ancho. Now if you want to go light on some of these because they're hot, these two have they do have a little bit of heat to them. I understand. Cumin, some people say that has no business in chili. I like it in chili, it brings a warm element. You know this one's coming. the Chili Queen smoked paprika. What do I not put it in? Standard chili powder. Doesn't even have to be any kind of fancy kind. You know, I like Penzeys Arizona Dreamin', which has a variety of things that are good in chili, right? And this is salt-free, which I really enjoy. It's got ground ancho, a little redundancy there, garlic paprika, lemon peel, chipotle, so a little copycat here and there, jalapeno, and cocoa. Interesting, right? Finally, and this one's optional, a little cayenne, just to give it heat. Doesn't necessarily make sure lips on fire, okay? Now I'm going to use a crazy, I'm going to have to title this some crazy title this video today, because I'm going to use a proteins collection of things that is going to blow your mind. And let's get started, and I'll pull those out of the fridge here in a minute. So we want to have a little bit of oil down. Now if you were using a high-fat hamburger, you can do your chili varied like mine, right? But I'm going to have one of my proteins, venison, and it's not going to be very, have much fat at all. In fact, it is really lean, so you do need a little oil if you're going to do the venison. I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. I've got about, that's kind of a pretty, whew, I'm going to turn that down a little bit. That's got a little bit of, that's a little bit bigger bag of venison than I normally get. Woo! In fact, we're going to let that, woo! That's that crazy burner I have that tends to go up and down like it's haunted. But anyway, it's more like 1.5 pounds. Now, why this is crazy, venison alone might be crazy to some people. Get that burner cooled off. I'm also going to add about, ready for this one? About 1/2 pound or so, we'll see, we'll taste it and see where we need to be with that, of pork sausage. Now, why would I add the pork sausage, you might be wondering. I'm going to put that in here and put this in the fridge. Pork sausage has, cool down there. I'm going to just turn that off and let it come back up to temperature. Pork sausage has a lot of natural flavor in the fat, I feel. Okay? I think it's going to flavor up this batch of chili that we're making today quite well. And then I realized, you know what? Of course, we got those guys going on. Hold on just a minute. Hey! Hey! No! Nope! Nope! No barks. A little bit of disciplinary action 101 there. Sorry. I realized I had some chorizo in the freezer that I've had in there for too long, like a couple of years. I know, bad. But it was in the deep freezer, buried, so it didn't have any freezer burn. And then I got it from a friend who gave it to me. This is what it looks like. It's still frozen. And I realized, crap, it's not marked. And chorizo, which I don't do a lot of cooking with, there's two different kinds. There's Mexican chorizo and there's Spanish chorizo. And one is cooked and one isn't, and I couldn't tell what this was. It's a little harder when it's frozen. So I cut some off. It cut very easily, so I wonder if it isn't already cooked. Put it in a little bowl, just a little bit, like a tablespoon, cooked it up, and it tasted cooked, but I wasn't sure. But it had a great flavor still, okay? The two are not necessarily the same, the Spanish or the Mexican chorizo. One is a little more smokier, has a little more of a Chili Queen flavor to it. There we go, you know I like that. And the other one does not, but they're both good, and they're used in a variety of ways. So we're going to add some of that in moderation, because I'm gonna have to taste this, and so should you. There's nothing wrong with tasting the stuff that you're making when you're making something wacky like this. There we go. I think the heat just got carried away. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this some brown. Now, everybody's chilies that they make are different. Some people want an even blend, 50% beans, 50% meat. Again, some people hate beans. Okay, we don't even need to start that war. BM doesn't like beans. He wants it all meat. That gets kind of bland and boring. And while that's a lot of protein, it's not a lot of fiber. So today I thought we're going to do a 50-50, right? 50, well, we'll see. 50-50. We'll see. And I've got, for my chosen beans, some kidney beans that are organic. And then I thought, and I didn't open this yet, I thought, what about pinto? That would be good. Now I have tons of black beans, and I have northern beans, and I have garbanzo beans, and I have more of these organic kidney beans. I'm just thinking variety here, because I like to make different chilies. Now, going back to that tomato thing before the girls started barking, I'm all out of stewed tomatoes. I have some home canned stewed tomatoes, but if you've ever known anybody to can their own tomatoes, that's so much work. So I thought, you know what? Let me turn this up a little bit. I don't want to add those because there's so much work, and I'd rather use those for like a lasagna sauce than a chili, right? Because a chili is so laid back. You don't need to use your fanciest of tomatoes. But then I thought, after I opened this, that's when I had this eureka, and this isn't even tomato sauce. This is red enchilada sauce. I thought the chorizo, and then I thought, okay, we got a theme here. It's kind of Mexican, it's kind of Spanish. I don't know where it is going with all this, but I thought, well, let's do the tomato sauce and the red enchilada sauce together in case the red enchilada sauce is a little weird tasting, because I've never done that as the base for a chili. Okay, let's see how the heat's coming along here. It's such a weird burner. You'll have to let me know in the comments what kind of chilies that you've made. I've got a funny story. Not everybody makes chili well, right? There are people that make chili well. I'm going to salt and pepper this right now, lightly, because I don't know how salty that enchilada sauce is going to be. And I already know that chorizo is pretty flavorful. So we're just going to go a little bit like that. Funny story is, my mother is a wonderful cook. There's a few things she doesn't cook well. And one thing she never cooks well, she hasn't probably made it since I was in high school, is chili. And her chili, all I remember of it, it was watery, okay? And it had V8 juice in it and celery. Wah, wah. So as a result of that, and I think the whole family kind of was like, Mom, not your specialty, don't need to make again. I don't think she liked it either. And I went off to college, I was like, yeah, I don't like chili. Just because you know what you only know what you know when you're young, right? So I went off to college, excuse me. And my roommate and I stayed over the holiday Christmas break once. We had an apartment off campus. And so nobody was around. It was Christmas break, nobody was around. It was really bad, cold winter at Christmas break at college. And my friend Pete said, hey, let's walk, because it was so bad out we couldn't drive. And he said, hey, it was a Saturday night, let's walk over to Gary's house. Gary's got some chili going. And I remember thinking, oh, chili. I was like, really? You think it's going to be any good? Pete's like, oh, I've had it, it's good. So we walk, it's like 10 below zero. We get all dressed up. We walk probably about 5 blocks across town, downtown to where Gary's was. And he was kind of a hippie type, not old, we were all the same age. And, you know, he had all these just little red lights in his apartment, and his apartment had bean bags everywhere. And I was thinking, oh, chili, I don't want to eat this. It's going to be runny and it's going to be soupy. And he brought me out a mug of this thick, meaty chili. And he said he had corn chips on the bottom, at the bottom of the mug, then the chili on top, and then he topped it with cheese and a dollop of sour cream. I took one bite. I was like, oh, this is so good. And he was like, it's just chili. I was like, oh, no, I've not had chili like this. And he showed me the beans, and they were Bush's beans. And I remember listening to him tell me how to make the chili. I was changed after that. Chili was no longer a bad word in my vocabulary, and here we are today with me making all kinds of chilies. But that's something to think about. If you grow up, and maybe your grandma or your grandpa or your dad or your uncle or your older brother makes something that they thought was the bee's knees, and you ate it and you were like, meh. Keep in mind, you had their version of it, and you might like it made by somebody else. Alright, we're starting to get some nice color on it. This is going to be really meaty, holy moly. Let's add a little bit of this. Here I attempted to pre-cook the chorizo. Again, I don't know if it's Spanish or Mexican. I think it's Spanish, not sure. But as you can tell, A lot of grease. Now that grease, I ate a little bit. You have to. You have to know what it tastes like. There's the grease. It was delicious, but I don't want all that grease. So I'm going to only add maybe a few tablespoons of this. Okay? To the meat. And now it adds a color, and I love that. Because, let me add a little bit more of this. I'm going to give it a chop, just a rough chop, although it's coming apart easily by itself. I'm looking at this protein as a flavor enhancer. That's all I'm looking at it as, right? And a color enhancer. Because otherwise, if you're doing, you could do tempeh. You could be a vegetarian and still eat chili. You could do tempeh. You could get that frozen at your co-op or your health food store, even your grocery store these days. Even tempeh, along with ground turkey, ground pork, ground beef, they all are gray and kind of ugly when you're cooking them up. But this is giving it a prettier, this is kind of hot, but I want you to see, a prettier, more, like a more palatable color, if you will. And I like that. I'm liking it. I might add more. We're looking to let this cook down though. I'm going to go ahead, and I'm not going to go crazy on the spices. Again, because of the enchilada sauce. And, because you got to feel your way through this. But my meat is cooking along, and pepper. We need pepper. Let's use the cool pepper mill I got from my sister. Sometimes you can just tell by smell. And black pepper doesn't have the same heat factor that some of these other peppers have. All peppers have their own little heat party that they bring. Okay? I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see what's going on. Yeah, that chorizo gave it a warmer, more palatable, not that death pall gray, that, whatever you call that raw meat gets when it's, I don't know, it does have a good color. Let's take a little sample bite. Get out a few spoons. Let me just look for a, okay, lots of things going on here. The pork sausage already brought some great flavors to it, which I knew would happen, because the venison is blandorama unless you do stuff with it. I can taste just a tiny hint of that chorizo. So, from this taste, hence deduction, I'm going to add a lot of the Chili Queen smoked paprika. And you knew that was coming, right? If you ever watched me cook before. I'm going to go crazy with the cumin because it doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't, doesn't make anything too hot. Your regular, your standard, everybody knows it, everybody loves it. Say it along with me. Good old-fashioned chili powder. I think in Mom's chili that she made back when we were kids, I don't even know if she put chili powder in her chili. Wow, you know what I mean? Mom, if you're watching this, which you're probably not, but if you are, I'm sorry. It wasn't very good. Okay. That's much better. I'm going to throw in a little bit of the Arizona Dreamin', but if you don't have that, that's fine. They won't tell you what spices mean, but it's got a little bit of everything. I'm not going to go too heavy on it. It's salt-free, though, which I love. Now, you could take all this meat out, keep the pot going, and put your aromatics in, your garlic, and do your garlic and your onions next, sauteing along with your peppers. And I haven't decided if I'm going to do that. I got a lot of meat going here, or if I'm just going to add it and let it sweat down in the meat. Let me take another bite with my other spoon after doing this. Mmm. I'm going to leave it right like that for right now. Because don't know how this is going to change things up. Now you might be going, why'd you leave all those seeds in there? When I get these hatch peppers, they've already been roasted over a fire at the greenhouse. And I want all that blackened stuff in, so it'd be awfully hard to keep all the blackened stuff and get rid of the seeds. So I got rid of some of the seeds, because there were a lot, but I kept a lot of them. And I ate a few, and they didn't taste bad, so why not? Okay? I'm going to add those in the center. I kind of push the meat up on the sides of the Dutch oven, kind of like a wok, if you will. And I'm going to add just a, you can see where we're at, see how much room I have to cook. Push more meat up to the sides, like this is a wok. This is a really nice, tall Dutch oven. In one of my last videos, I think I was bragging about those and saying, you guys got to get a Dutch oven if you don't have one already. And then if you do, I wonder if you can hear that. It is really windy out there. And if you do, don't you love it? Your Dutch oven. Okay. Not really. Oh gosh, that's pretty. I got to show you this. Look at the color. Look at the color of this, and we haven't even added the sauce. I mean, really? Doesn't that look good? I got the heat on a normal person stove. I would say on a normal person stove. I would say this I got it on medium. This stove is haunted, so like when I first started, that was on scorching hot. Here, even though I had that set to medium, so this thing's crazy. Can you hear that? Okay. I can smell the peppers now, and they're steaming up a little bit. That's okay. We don't need to do any funky cooking technique. In fact, if you want, if you got to go to work, brown your meat the night before, throw it in a crock pot. Literally dump everything else in there, seasons included. Put the lid on, set it for low, and go to work. By the time you get home, it'll basically be done. You might have to smush up a couple of the tomatoes if you use stewed tomatoes. Like you might have to. I wouldn't use whole because you should break those up with your hand before you put them in the crock pot. But if you use diced or chopped, you're done. You don't have to do any fancy cooking technique. I don't think. You can argue with me in the comments if you want. With the sauteing of these vegetables, it's just that when they're done, the chili's done, right? When the meat's done, and those are done, and everything's married, then it's done. Okay, let's go ahead while this is still cooking, and let's add the enchilada sauce so I can see where we're at with liquid and where we're at with taste. And then we'll add the tomato sauce, because the tomato sauce doesn't have any seasoning on the label. I'm going to pull down the meat. I don't know if you can see this. Well, just trust me, I'm pulling down the meat off the sides like this, like as if this was a wok. Wow, this has got a lot of color. Woo! And I'm going to add, I don't know if we'll need those pinto beans, folks. I'm going to add the kidney beans. I'm going to drain them first. Now, some people would say, oh, you got to wash the crap out of them because, you know, beans, the magical fruit. The more you eat, the more you toot. We don't care about that so much around here, do we, girls? So we're just going to add the beans just with a basic drain. You don't have to go nuts. But, you know, if you were having some polite company over and, you know, you didn't want there to be embarrassment, you could rinse them in a colander really well. That helps cut down on the, gosh, I must toot my own horn. This is pretty. Cuts down on the gas. The things that lead to that flatulence, if you will. This is super pretty. I'm going to have to grab a pot holder because I want you to see how pretty this is. Yeah, I know, girls. I wish you could see how pretty it is, too. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? It's got this like calico beans vibe to it, almost. And now we're really just done. We're waiting for those peppers to completely soften. And then, and no big deal that I already opened this up. I'm probably going to just use a little bit of this, but not a problem. I've been busy today. I'm going to use the rest of this to make pizza sauce this weekend. I even used the rest of that chub for the sausage and pre-cooked it because I'm going to make a Yaya's pizza, which is a artichoke, spinach, mushroom. Oh, that's right, I don't need this because it's a white base. That's right, it's an Alfredo-based pizza. No big deal. I can freeze that. But I think I might use just a little bit of this. We'll see. I know right just from smelling that I need just the plain basic chili powder. And I'm putting in, I would say, probably another teaspoon or 2 teaspoons. The rest of this, I just did a little shimmy shake. You always should start with, depending on how big a batch of chili you're making, is only a teaspoon and go from there. Because some, like I haven't even put some of the hot ones in here. Let me grab another spoon. See where we're at. Look at that, isn't that pretty? No salt needed. The chorizo and the sausage have plenty. No black pepper needed. I probably added what? Maybe with the shakes I would say I probably added a teaspoon of this. Don't need any more of that. That chorizo's got a kick. I don't think I'm going to need the chipotle or the ancho. Besides the chipotle and the ancho, we're also in that Penzi spice blend. Definitely aren't going to need this guy. But you know what? I don't know if I added any of this. I need a little chili or garlic powder. And I'm putting in a teaspoon. Whew. This is a pretty girl. I'm telling you. And I think that was just the right amount of chorizo. And that wasn't that much. I mean, maybe that much. You could decide what that would be. A third of a cup, maybe, of the chorizo. I'm going to probably, this is still fairly frozen. I'm going to probably refreeze this and use it in another chili. Or if you have a great way of using a mystery chorizo that you don't know if it's Spanish or Mexican, let me know. Drop me a comment in the comments and I'll make whatever it is you suggest. You could also put a jalapeno in here and that would make this totally Christmassy looking. But right now it's just this great calico. I'm going to put just a little bit. I bet I'll put only 3 tablespoons in there. I don't think I need any more. In fact, you guys, I would say, let me pick out one of these peppers and see if it's done. It's already done. I'm going to turn this down on super low. Okay? And what I'm going to do is put the cover on it. Oh, there it goes being crazy again. Why does it do that? I think the element's going out. We're going to shut it off. Then I'm going to turn it back on again on low. I'll put the lid on it. I'm going to let this just simmer away. I know it's simmering like a cauldron right now. Shut off already so I can reset you. And I'm going to let it just marry for probably a half hour, very low simmer with the lid on. And I don't think I'm going to do anything else to this. I'm going to go get the lid right now. I don't think I'm going to do anything else to this. Other than, and how cute. How cute is this to eat your chili like this? Yes, please. Right? Yes, please. I'm going to put, just like Gary taught me clear back in college, I'm going to put some crunched up purple tortilla chips, you know, like nacho chips on the bottom. I'm going to put that chili in here. Sprinkle a little cheese on top, a little cheese maybe on the bottom too before I put the chili in. A dollop of sour cream, and this is going to be dynamite. And here's something a lot of people forget. There's a lot of things you can do with leftover chili. You can put it in an omelet. Strain the watery part out, so use a slotted spoon. Put it in an omelet with some cheese, wonderful. You can freeze it, of course, right? With these grocery deli things, which I might do. Then you have emergency chili to throw in your crock pot, frozen and off when you got to dash off to work, right? Or you can use one of these. You just don't want to ever heat these in the microwave because they're not made for that. They have chemicals in them. Another thing, and this is how BM is going to want to have the leftovers. He already said he did. Take some brats or some Polish sausage or just a plain good hot dog. Cook it any way you want. Save some of the heavier part of that chili. Line it over the hot dog. Top it with cheese and onions. Broil it for a minute or throw it in the microwave if you don't want to take the time. Fabulous. There never is a problem with what to do with leftover chili. So, thank you for joining me today. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. That really helps me. Hit the like button, the thumbs up if you would. That helps me too. Drop me a comment about your chili. I would love to know what kind of chili you use, and if you want to argue about the debate, beans or no beans, go for it. Do you like beans? If you use beans, what kind of beans do you prefer? And do you like a little or a lot or 50-50? 50 meat, 50 beans. Alright, so have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next Sunday. So, see you then. Bye.